Welcome back to another edition of Six Borough Sports, your home for New York and South Florida sports. Today, we're only talking Mets because the past week of New York Mets baseball has been absolutely insane. Um, it started off with, the double header on Monday against the Braves, and I thought, well, we're gonna blow it. This is what we do. We blow it against the Braves in the last game of the series. We got that 6-3 lead. Um, Diaz comes in and just completely blows the lead. Like it's just does just enough. It's 7-6. Great. Thanks. Awesome. One of the best closers in baseball completely implodes. And then freaking Lindor comes in and hits that home run that it didn't initially look like a home run, but it just kept carrying and carrying and eventually went out, and that was amazing. And then they Mendoza trusted Diaz, and I wanted to go with Diaz. A lot of people were critical of that. I wanted to go with Diaz. It's like you got to ride or die with that's what you're paying him for, and I didn't really believe in the other guys like Stanek. I didn't really believe that he would be able to close it out, but Diaz was able to do it. He made it Heart Attack City, but that's what he does. And the Mets made it to the playoffs. They gave the Braves the second game. They weren't trying. They were resting people, which is fair. They needed to rest people. Diamondbacks are kind of mad. Diamondbacks, you had every opportunity. You just needed to win a couple of games in that final stretch there, and you didn't do it. Um, and you lost the regular season series to both the Mets and the Braves. So you don't really have too much of a leg to stand on when the Mets already know that they're in the playoffs and then they need to rest their guys because they play on Monday and then they go right back and then play on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, assuming it's a 3 game series up in Milwaukee, and they're not at home. So the Mets had the right to not try in the second game. It's kind of the point. But it was an amazing game. I'm really happy for Lindor. He finally had his like big Mets moment, and things are finally, I think, starting to. Back then, I thought things were starting to turn the corner for this team. I was so worried that they weren't going to make the playoffs. Like, yes, they would have had like a great regular season record, considering all that would all that's happened. But for them not to make the playoffs after all this and to lose to the Braves twice, to be eliminated, would have been absolutely devastating, and wouldn't feel like we made real progress this year into a winning culture. It would have been nice because we're starting to find talent in the role players and stuff, but being able to win that game in Atlanta, even though we lost the whole series to the Braves this year, but being able to take that win in Atlanta was huge, I think, for the team and their confidence going forward. Speaking of their confidence going forward, they had to go straight up to Milwaukee, and they won game one. They batted them around in a rally that was started by Iglesias. And then they lost game two in a decision that I did not agree with Maton in the eighth. I didn't like that move. The crowd really started to get into it that inning, and you could feel it. It was a 3-2 game. You could feel it. The second Maton started throwing, I was like, "Dude, something's off with him. I don't like him. I don't like it. You should take him out. We have the lead in the eighth inning. Let's finish him off." And lo and behold, they gave up the two home runs, and then after that, I was just like, okay, we're gonna have to regroup and try to win game three, which I wasn't too confident that they could do. I thought they were going to lose, and that would have been it, and it would have been a good season. Hey, we made the playoffs, and we weren't expected to, especially after May. In May, when we were under 11 games under 500, and like Lindor was batting like 210. Everybody had them. I on this channel said that they were done. And I am generally a pessimistic Mets fan. And this team, time and time again, has been proving me wrong, and I'm happy for it. It's been great. So, but then game three came along. I thought the Mets were cooked. I thought they were done. I thought this was like one of those like regular season games where the bats just don't show up. I mean, Lindor got the only two hits going into the ninth inning, and one of them he almost didn't get, but he slid into the glove and the ball came out. And it was a nice hustle play, for sure. And that just also shows the leadership of Lindor. He had two hits in the game, and then he had the walk in the ninth that contributed to the home run, which I'm going to speak about soon. Um, and then Quintana was lights out. I heard some people saying we don't play Quintana in the Philly series. I was like, I would. He's been nasty over these past few months, I think. Um, so Budo comes in the eighth, and I'm like, oh, good, Budo. I like Budo. He should be pretty good. And he just gets absolutely clobbered by two home runs. And then Pete, Pete, you drop the pop up in foul territory with the fans in your face. And he was 0 for 3 at that point. And I saw that and I was just like, he's done. He is done. He is not going to be a Met anymore. It's really sad. And we're gonna lose this game 2-0. And that'll be it. We had a successful season. We made the playoffs, but the Brewers, they're number one seed for a reason. And yeah, we're gonna lose. The ninth inning rolls around, and then I'm like, Lindor managed to get that walk on the nice check swing. He held up. That was a legit check swing. And then Nimmo um, hit the single, and we got runners at the corners, and it's kind of like perfect. You got the big three like hitting guys all together. You got Nemo on first, Lindor on third, Pete Alonso up. The crowd is nervous. I'm looking at this like this is a perfect opportunity for Pete Alonso to like save his season because he's struggled so much throughout this entire year. And I was like, this is it. This is perfect. This is the perfect time. If he had a 3-run homer, and lo and freaking behold, that when that went off his bat, I did not think it was a home run. I don't think any of the players on the field thought it was a home run, but Pete knew instantly it was a home run, and it went just over the fence, and it was insanity, absolute insanity. Um, I could not believe that he pulled that off. I thought we were done. I thought he actually might walk in that situation and load up the bases, and then maybe like Iglesias would hit into a double play. Not that I didn't believe in Iglesias. He's been fantastic this year, but I just thought the Mets were done. They just didn't have it. Um, and then shout out to Winker and Marte for knocking in that next extra run. Speaking of insanity, Winker is absolutely insane. I cannot wait for him to antagonize the Philly fans throughout this next series. It's going to be really fun. And then I really liked what Mendoza did with Peterson in the ninth, throwing 9 pitches, got the double play. That was an interesting double play because Lindor was so far away from second base, and I was like, oh boy. But if he threw it to second, the other guy would have had to reset, and it wouldn't have gotten to first in time. So Lindor played that perfectly, and the Mets freaking advance. I could not believe it. After the game ended and after everything settled out, I did see it's a great video by John Boy if you get a chance to look it up. It's that Williams, the Brewers closer or relief pitcher who was pitching to Alonso in the ninth, he appears to be, it's pretty solid evidence that he was tipping pitches. He was tipping his fastball and he was tipping his changeup. And in the video, you can see the Mets are like lined up, they know the pace of the pitch, but they don't know where it's going to be. So when they swing, it's on time, but they're swinging in the wrong spot. And so I think that Williams might have been tipping his pitches, and the Mets caught wind of that. But that's part of the game. This is not like the Astros where they were streaming the game and looking at the catcher signals and then giving signals to hitters how to hit the pitch. This is not the same as that. This is part of the game. The Mets weren't stealing signs. He was telegraphing what he was going to pitch in his body language. They took advantage of it. So that was absolutely fantastic. And now the Mets go on to play the Phillies, who apparently the Mets and Phillies have never met in the playoffs. It's going to be a nasty series. Like I said, I'm excited for Winker to wreak havoc and everything. Game one surprise announcement: Kodai Senga will be the starter after return from his injury. I think Mendoza is trying to throw a curveball because he knows that Wheeler is going to be pitching great. So let's mess with the Phillies, try to maybe sneak a win in game one. But if the Mets can split and then win 2 home games, I think I don't think home field advantage matters that much. But if they can split this one and then win 2 home games, I think they can win. I'm not going to pick the Mets. I think the Phillies are going to win the series, and I'm just doing that because I didn't think the Mets were going to win any of this. So I'm going to be consistent and do like a reverse jinx and just not pick the Mets throughout the entire playoffs. Um, but the Mets definitely have some mojo going on that the other teams I haven't really seen yet. The other teams kind of just steamrolled through there. But they were the only ones that weren't the sweep in the wild card round. And the Mets have been playing like the best baseball, I think, of all the teams that are left since like July, I want to say. But it should be a really good Philly series. I do think the Phillies win. They just have too much hitting, and I don't see the Mets keeping up with it. But we'll see what happens. The maybe Senga is lights out, and it will be a nasty series. I think it's going to be a nasty series either way. I don't see a sweep. I would be very surprised if it's a sweep, but we'll see what happens at 4 o'clock today. But thank you so much for watching. Like I said, I'm trying to be more consistent with these videos, but I'd like to remind everyone to please like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.